Right, so welcome back to Adventure 82. I'm back. I'm wounded because I'm an idiot and I fell down the stairs. Apologies if this video is coming out a couple of days late, which it may well be. As I said, I fell down the stairs, so I'm filming very late. But today we're here to do a mill I've been working on for the past probably 6 or 7 months. This is going to be more than one part, so this is the first part, and we're going to be starting down here in the small little village of Preston under Scar. I'm going to be ending up at a completely different mill, but they're all interlinked, up on Redmire Moor. So, well, this is the beginnings of Kelds Mill. Right, so where are we today then? We are, as I said, near Preston Scar. So there's Preston Scar, you can see here on the side-by-side maps. And if we come across this way a bit, you can see here it says Kelds Smelting Mill. So Kelds Smelting Mill was a replacement for what's still actually marked on here as well, which is Preston Mill. So Preston Mill now is a private and holiday accommodation, so we can't look at that. We are at the moment, we're at the bottom though, because you see there's got Smelting Mill here, and you've got Kelds Lead Mines, sorry, down here. And that's where we are at the moment, in what they call Thwonker Wood. There's some interesting names around this place, it's quite cool. So the whole thing was one big operation. So they started off at Preston Mill, mining for lead. And the lead mining industry in Wensleydale was going so well for the owners of Preston Mill that Preston Mill was no longer able to keep up with the demand of lead in the area. So they decided to put their heads together and build a purpose-built mine and smelting mill so they could sort it all out themselves. So in 1851 they started building Kelds lead mines and smelting mill. The original one, however, Preston had been there since the 12th century, so it's the longest running, or was at the time when it was running until 1915 when it closed, the longest running lead mine in Wensleydale. It's also the biggest in Wensleydale. When they were doing that, this went through several changes, which we'll cover as we go through the videos, because this ends right up, which I haven't filmed yet as I'm making this, on Redmire Moor. So the thing with this is that they started off with these mines here, which is where we're going to go back to, and they would mine their stuff up here, and they would then take this from here up to the mill, where they would then smelt it, melt it down, get all the impurities out the lead, and send it off. The nearby Gervelot Abbey, which is, if you know the area, is just through Wensley and out again on your way towards Midland. All the roof for there came from Kelds Lead Mine. But these mines were built way back when. So the original mines were built up here, which we'll see kind of remnants of as we go up into these wood areas here. At a later date, around 1880s or so, 1820s, sorry, the original mines started to run dry, so they built new mines, and these new mines had shafts that ran underneath the actual mine itself, the actual boiler room, etc. But that's where we are today. We're just outside Preston. We're going to look at this bottom section and on our way up towards this section. This got quite confusing as I went up, so we'll be popping up here and there to explain what the heck's going on, because I couldn't figure it out whilst I was there. I only pieced it together once I came back. But otherwise, back to the video so I don't bore you stiff. Right, so there's the original chimney, right up there looking down on us. You can't get to the base anymore, unfortunately. We'll see if there's a way of getting to it from maybe the top. Well, that's a bit of a shame. I found an interesting piece here though. I'm guessing this looks like it's where the wood would have gone in, maybe. Water, sorry, not wood, plonker. So, the original mill was water powered by a water wheel, which I'm hoping to find evidence of. I've been told the wheel pit and stuff is still very much around, so we'll be having a look for that as well. But you can see here, the water would have flowed down through here. The lid's all cracked open now. Would have flowed all the way down here. This got its water from a pool further up, but the water always came from the same source, whether it was when it was powered at the bottom or whether it was powered at the top. So the water for this always came from the Wensley Brook. They tapped into the Wensley Brook, and that's where they got their water from. And they used it for many years. You can see here, this disappeared way underneath the ground. So water was always used as the power, but not always directly. So with the original mill, as it was here, they eventually ended up using steam, which is how this one came to be. Right, so I did say I didn't piece this together until I got back. So what you got here, as far as I'm aware, and if you want to correct me, that's fine, because I'm not going to pretend I fully understand all of this, but I understand a fair amount. So the original chimney up here was disconnected in the 1850s because what they decided to do to, one, increase production, to remove the fumes away from their workforce, is they built what was, and I think it still is now in fact, actually the Yorkshire's longest flue, try and say that and not get tongue-tied, which went from here all the way up through to the smelting section of the mill up top, and then it went through some condensers, which we'll talk about later, and then up on to Cobscar / Red Mire Mall, because I've seen it mentioned as both, where the chimney still stands, so we'll be looking at that in a later video. The chimney wasn't actually theirs, it was actually owned by a separate mill called Cobscar Mill, which we will also be looking at in a later video. But to explain what we're looking at here is, behind here, which you can't see right now, is a massive wheel pit where they used to have a steam engine that would pump the water out of the mines, allowing them to get the lead and extract it all out in a safe manner without drowning their employees, essentially. Kelds Head Mill Mining Company were classed as one of the most caring of the employees in the mining industry, because I actually cared about their miners' welfares to a point, which wasn't the case in most mines. It was just a case of making as much money as possible, and the employees were expendable, as you're probably fully aware. So this building here, this would have been the boiler house. She would have had boilers in here that would be heating up water from the Wensdale Brook to power the steam engine behind, to power the pump, to pump out the water from the mines. So that's what would have been here originally, and then that would have then gone out this chimney. That was that, like, and as I explained, that was then rerouted. So that's what you're looking at here. We'll be having a look at that wheel pit, which is absolutely fascinating to look at, I have to say, in a moment. But sorry to interrupt again, but I wanted to give you the information so that you knew what you were looking at. Back to the video. Which is how this one came to be. So you've got the bottom half of the building here. I have no idea how deep this shrubbery is. Wow. Okay, that's pretty deep. As always, ill prepared. Came in trainers again. Look at this. So this must have been fenced off at some point and someone's done away with it. But look at that. So you've got a fire. That just looks like a general fireplace there, to be honest, that one. But I don't know, they may have been. This was all a smelt mill. So they divide us up into most sections. So most of the work on the bottom half here, this was more the mine end. So this was more about getting the pits, the stuff out the pits, and then out. And then it was up top where it was all processed. But this was the mining section of the whole mill. Because it was purpose built, they were able to build it in a way that worked for them. Oh, this one's got a window. That's quite cool. Look at that. You can see here they used to have something in the wall there, so you can see the mounting points. Still got one of the old roof beams. And the other one. This is all quite cool. Hang on, let me just go over this. Right, there we go. So I would advise, if you're going to come and look at this, maybe I would say autumn before everything grows back. As you can see here, it grows up a lot. And these thistles, they attract those really annoying little wasps that kind of hover everywhere. But I tell you what, you've got some really cute little butterflies here though, look at them. Oh, he's a very happy chap in here. But this is so cool. I've been working on this one for some time. Like I say, it'd be lovely to get to the chimney, but I'd love to get to that chimney. So this was all interlinked. So milling, when you take into account the first mill down in Preston Mill, actually started for this company back in the early 1800s. And they were going for, I think it was like 1915 was the last records or so of this milling. And smelting. The actual mill itself carried on longer. It carried on for quite a while after smelting. You can see the wood frames are still in the windows. Someone's tried to fence this off with, all of them have got these black barriers in for some reason, which I don't know why. I will show you, if I haven't already as well, a map location wise of stuff, but right, I don't know what's inside here, but I will give you guys a look. Shall we see? There we go. I have no idea what you guys can see in there. Might be able to get a view from it from the path as well, but I think a view from the door would be quite nice anyway. So there we go. It's for things like that, it's exactly why I got the GoPro. Right, so you can see what we were just looking at from the side. So we were just over here, where you can see that opening there. That's where the door was. Now you can see why it's wooded off, because that's not a nice drop. So, and I'm looking at the big hole there, which I thought was the window when we were in the other room. I don't think it is. I think that was a locking point on the wall, which you can see another short wall here. This is the wheel pit from when it used to use water. Right, so if I could interrupt myself for a minute. Right, so I've actually missed the wheel pit. I think this one is. So the wheel pit for the water wheel, before it had its pumping engine put in, is actually behind me as I'm looking at that, about 30 centimeters away next to a mine entrance, which I also missed. So I'll be going back at some point to have a look at those, and to obviously to show you guys them as well. They will probably be in part 2 or 3. It depends when I can get up there. But I will be featuring those for you at some point. But what we're looking at now is we're actually looking at the engine house. So you can see it's on 2 levels. The slightly higher level is where the mounting of the engine would have been placed. And then the opposite side is where you would have had the big, massive pumping wheel that would have been powering the pistons and making them go up and down, which would be doing 2 things. It was doing the winding for the mine, which would have been bringing the lead, etc., up to the surface, plus pumping, sucking up that water from the mine as well, keeping the mine as safe as was possible back then. And so that's what we're looking at there. There is actually mounting points that are hidden underneath that overgrowth, which is what I was saying in that clip as well. So the problem with filming these things is it's incredibly hard to get the timing right, because overgrowth can hide absolutely anything. And that's actually, in this case, how I managed to miss the wheel pit. But like I say, we'll be going back to that wheel pit. But yeah, so this is the engine house anyway. Back to the video for you. This is kind of a gem hidden in reasonably plain sight, because it was... the reason we found this in the first place is actually because Eric went, oh, look at that chimney as we drove past one day. So I wonder what that's for. And it's like, there's a big open space here. I don't know what's in here, if anything. Let's have a look. Yeah, look, there's more building hiding in here. Let's have a look at that. Right, so this is definitely man-made. You can see this. There's a sinking point here. Oh, there's a stone there, very careful. You see there's a sinking point here? You can see where some of the stones are lining it. I think you'll find, you can see there too where the wall comes down. I think you'll find that's where one of the mine shafts were, so I have to be careful we don't get too close to that. But look at it. That's one of the ways in which they got in. They were really quite determined to get as much as they could out of this area, because it was such a lucrative business. You know, this was the biggest mill in Wensleydale, and they started having issues. If I haven't already covered this, probably have, with the mines, because they were starting to run out of metal coming out the mines. And so, as you can see there too, there's a clear line across there too, so I'm guessing there's probably another mine pit there too. But the original mines that they built when they first built this ran out of material. Not to be outdone and not to ruin their own business, they kind of then went underneath the mill building here and started mining underneath their own building. So they weren't going to be outdone. But this is fascinating stuff. The toil and the condition that probably some of these people worked in up here. There's supposed to be a few more buildings just up here. We won't be doing the top of the hill today. That's going to be part 2, because I've got to get to that from a different direction. But that is really quite an awesome thing. Right, so we're just come up from over here. The mill we were looking at was just there. You can see here, this is one of the original shafts there. It's been fenced off. It's now in the middle of a sheep field. If you can hear it on the microphone, but just down here over this wall, there you go, you can see it. That's Wensley Brook. That's where the mill got all its power from. It's a stunning little thing. It's amazing how much power they got from so little water, actually, to be fair. So we're going to go up this way. You can see Erica and Lydia with me today anyway. So you've got Kelds Mill. Kelds Head Mill, like I say, was in different sections. So you had bottom section and top section. But this is quite a nice little rural place to be as well. Get a better view of the river from here. No, stinging nettles. Right, let's go have a look a bit up here because I don't really want to film somebody else's farm. Right, so as we're aware, I'm on a farm. I don't know if any other parts of the farm were part of the mill. I'm not 100% certain. But this looks like that this was actually the peat store for the mill, which is now being used by storage for the farmer, as you can see there. But once upon a time that would have been the peat store, because peat's everywhere up here, so, and it burns so hot it makes smelting so much easier, because one of the major problems they faced with smelt mills was getting just the sheer excessive heat you need, and a lot of ways were very time consuming. You had to wait so long for the heat to build up. Peat allows you to get that heat going really, really quickly. So you're able to start smelting that much quicker, get that much more done, get that much more out to everyone else. It's smashing that, it's absolutely awesome that like so much of this is still standing. It's very rural. I don't know if this was part of the mill site, but the wall looks like once upon a time it was taller. It's all fenced around there. The problem is a lot of this area here, that's a farm, has got electric fences on it to keep the sheep in, so you can't really look. So as you can see here, normally the wall curves off to direct you into here, so I'm guessing that maybe part of the mill was in there, but it's all trees now. So you can see there too, look, there's another bank, raised up bank here with the trees on it, and it sinks in the middle. So that would have been another one of the original shafts. It was like really dangerous work this, you know, and the guys were doing it day in, day out. Didn't get paid that much either. So here we go, look, we've got a free look at the brook. So let's go take a look at the brook. Right, so that's it for part one. We're now entering an area known as Condenser Wood, which is where the condenser and the smelt section of the mill was. So we're now in the milling section. The mining section is now behind us. We'll be having a look at the mill, the remains of that, and the very contrived and confusing, whilst I was there until I figured it out, waterways and flue that kind of wind and intertwine themselves with each other. And then we'll be following that up the hill as far as obviously the smelting area was. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed part one. Part two will be out as you're probably fully aware next week. This is actually really quite fun. I've enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed researching this. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. My apologies for there not being much in the way of a video last week. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, I wounded my back flying down the stairs. I don't even know how I managed it. Just a nightmare. But alas, that's all sorted now. So I'll see you again next week. Take care of yourselves and have a lovely weekend, whatever it is to get up to. And if you want a sneak peek of what we're going to be up to next week, stay tuned because there'll be a little preview just before the end of the video. Take care. When we're down the bottom, I showed you that concreted over section that showed you the water flow. This is the beginning of that water flow. You can see how they dug their different channels. So this one's now blocked off by a tree, but they went off that way. They've got another one here that came down there